Now, a quadratic expression is any expression in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are numbers, right? So A, B, and C could be any real number. However, A cannot be equal to zero. So A cannot be equal to zero. It could be a negative number or a positive number, but it cannot be equal to zero, right? Because if it's equal to zero, then you would have no term in x squared. You'll have 0x squared. So then the expression will no longer be a quadratic, it will be a linear expression. So in a linear expression, the highest power of x is 1. However, in a quadratic expression, the highest power of x is 2. So that x squared term is what makes this entire expression a quadratic expression, right? So if you had another example, like if you had 3x cubed plus 2x squared plus x plus 5, this will not be a quadratic because the highest power here is 3, which is more than 2, right? However, if you had just 2x squared plus x plus 5, this will be a quadratic because the highest power of x is 2. Even if you just had x squared plus 1, that's a quadratic, right? Or x squared plus 3x, also a quadratic because the highest power in all of these expressions, these three here, it's 2. So these are quadratic expressions, and they are called expressions and not equations because simply it's not equal to anything, right? If it was equal to something, then it would be a quadratic equation. But because it's not equal to anything, it's just an expression. And like with any expression, any algebraic expression, you can simplify it, you can factorize it, right? So today we're going to learn how to factorize a quadratic expression. And we're going to start off very easy. First, we're going to look at when a, that is the coefficient of x squared, is equal to 1, right? So when a is equal to 1, factorizing the quadratic has a lot less steps. So for example, let's say we have a quadratic x squared plus 8x plus 15, right? Now, in this quadratic, we know it's a quadratic because the highest power of x is 2, right? So we know that it's a quadratic. Now, a in this case is 1. Just like if you see x by itself, the coefficient of it will be 1. When you see x squared by itself, it means the coefficient a is 1. And I'm calling it a because remember, the general form of a quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c. That's the general form of a quadratic, where a is the coefficient of x squared, b is the coefficient of x, and c is a constant, right? So here, the coefficient of x squared, that is a, it's 1. So when you're factorizing quadratic in which where the coefficient of x squared is 1, there's just one thing. Well, I guess is maybe two, but it's going to factorize into a double brackets like this. And what goes here, we're going to have x and x. The number that goes here, so it's going to be, now all of these are positive, right? So it's x squared plus 8x plus 15. So you're going to have pluses here as well, right? Now, what you need to ask yourself is what number, right? What two numbers, I should say. So this is the question. What two factors, because they have to be factors, of C, in this case, C is 15. So what two factors of 15 will add or subtract? In this case, it's just addition because all of these signs are positive. Will add or subtract to give me 8, right? So really, you're asking, I should actually put C and B here instead. So what two factors of C will add or subtract to give me B? And B and C, remember, B is the coefficient of X. right? And C is the constant, 15. So in this question, C is equal to 15 and B is equal to 8. All right. So which two factors of 15 will add or subtract to give me B? And the question wasn't done there actually. And, right? So, and at the same time, multiply to give me back C, right? So the two factors, it wouldn't just be two random factors. The two factors have to add or subtract to give me B, and at the same time, multiply to give me C. That's the question that you're going to be asking yourself. So what I like to do is I like to list the factors of C in pairs, in the pairs that multiply to give me 15, right? So they will be 1 and 15 and also 3 and 5, right? So out of these two pairs, 1 and 15 or 3 and 5, only one of these pairs could add or subtract to give me back 8 and at the same time multiply to give me 15. So they're already in terms of listed in pairs that multiply to give me 15. So I only need to look for which one of these two pairs here will give me 8, and it's going to be 3 and 5. So the factors will be x plus 3, and doesn't matter which one you put 3 in, whether the first or the second bracket. So it'll be x plus 3 by x plus 5, right? And if you want to check to see if your answer is correct, we go ahead and we multiply the brackets, which we learned to do a couple of weeks ago, right? So to check, you would multiply x plus 3 by x plus 5 to see if you get back x squared plus 8x plus 15. And that's how you would know if you have factorized correctly. So multiplying this, you'll get x by x is x squared, x by 5 is 5x, 3 by x is 3x, and 3 by 5 is 15. And simplifying this will give you x squared plus 8x plus 15. All right, guys. So this is these are the steps to factorize a quadratic in which the coefficient of x squared, that is a, is 1. You simply need to identify c and b. So in this quadratic, c is 15, that's the constant, and b is 8. So you're going to ask yourself, what two factors of c, that's 15, will add or subtract to give me 8, and at the same time, multiply to give me 15. So one of the things that I do, like I said, is I list the factors in pairs that multiply to give me 15 so that I'm just looking at the pairs now in terms of whether or not they will add or subtract to give me 8. So let's do another one. All right, so let's say I had x squared plus 3x plus 2. Well, this one is simple because 2 is a prime number. So the only two factors of 2 would be, so this will end up being x plus 2 by x plus 1. Since 2 times 1 is 2 and 2 plus 1 is 3. All right, let's look at another one. Let's say I have x squared plus 6x plus 5. Again, this one is simple because C in this case is 5 and it's a prime number, which means that the only two factors of 5 are 1 and itself. So this will be x plus 1 by x plus 5. Again, it doesn't matter which brackets you put it in. And as you can see, 1 plus 5 is 6 and 1 times 5 is 5, right? Another one. Let's say I had x squared plus 7x plus 12. Now this one is a little different because 12 actually is a composite number. So you have several factors of 12. You have 1 and 12. You have 2 and 6. And then you have 3 and 4. So the factors here that would add to give me 7x would be 3 plus 4. And then 3 times 4 is also 12. So my factors will be, in one bracket, I'll have x plus 3 by x plus 4. All right. Um, let's say I had x squared plus 21x plus 20. right? Again, in this one, 20 is a composite number. The factors of 20 are 1 times 20, 2 times 10, and 4 times 5. So of these factors, the only one that could add or subtract to give me back 21 would have to be 1 and 20, because 1 plus 20 is 21, and then 1 times 20 is 20. So in my brackets, I would have x plus 1 by x plus 20. That's how you factorize a quadratic where the coefficient of x squared is 1. Are you guys ready to try one for me? Well, some for me, or you want me to do a few more examples? Tell me, Safira, a few more examples, or are you ready to try?
You can go ahead, miss.
As in, do some more examples?
No, you can,
Send you some?
yeah, yeah.
All right, let's say from Soraya and Zara. It's only the few of us here today. So, Soraya,
Some more
would you like
examples.
more examples? No problem. Um, so I'm going to do more examples. It'll benefit everybody. Make sure you write it down, no? Right, Soraya. So, Soraya, do this one with me, okay? You there, honey?
I'm here.
Okay, right. So let's say we have x squared plus 8x plus 12, Soraya. What are the factors of 12?
Two factors of 12.
Hmm.
Factors of 2 would be 1 and 12,
Yeah,
2 and 6,
yeah.
3 and 4.
And then 3 and 4. That's it, right? So now
Yeah,
you're asking yourself, which of these pairs here could add to give me 8? Which of them?
2 and 6.
2 and 6, right? So that's what's going to go in your brackets. So in your brackets, you'll have x plus 2 by x plus 6. Is that okay?
Yes, miss.
That's your answer. Okay. So try, I'm going to do one more. Let's do one more. Let's say I had x squared plus 8x plus 7. So we are in luck. Zara, are you there, honey?
Yeah, ma'am.
Right. So 7, what are the factors of 7?
1 and 7.
It's just 1 and 7 because it's a prime number. So it so happens that 1 plus 7 is 8, and then 1 times 7 is 7. So we good to go there. That one is the easy one. So just be x plus 7 by x plus 1. Is that okay, girls? You're all ready to try some?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Yes, miss.
So I'm going to write down some for you to try. Now, not all quadratics can be factorized. The ones that we are doing today can be, but not all of them can actually be factorized. Okay, so you're trying for me. You're doing x squared plus 16x plus 15. Um, X squared plus 12x plus 20. X squared plus 15x plus 36. X squared plus 22x plus 40. X squared plus 20x plus 36. I wrote that one fully. And then finally, you're doing x squared plus 14x plus 40. Now, the good thing with all of these are they're all positive, so we don't have to even worry about the signs. Soon we would have to take the signs into consideration. Okay, so try these, girls. Okay, guys, I'm going to put in the answers. So for number 7, we have x squared plus 16x plus 15. Now, the two factors of 15 that will add to give me 16 and at the same time multiply to give me 15 will be 1 and 15, right? Because 1 plus 15 is 16 and 1 times 15 is 15, all right? In number 8, we have x squared plus 12x plus 20 is equal to, well, the factors of 20 are 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and 4 and 5. So the factors of 20 that would add to give me 12 will be 2 and 10. All right, 2 times 10 is 20, and 2 plus 10 is 12. For 15 and 36, this one would have to be, well, what are the factors of 36? The factors of 36, well, many, but in my head, I just already know that it's 3 and 12, right? So 3 times 12 is 36, and 3 plus 12 is 15. So that would be 3 and 12, right? For number 10, x squared plus 22x plus 40, the two factors here would be 2 and 20 because 2 times 20 gives me 40 and 2 plus 20 gives me 22. In number 11, we have x squared plus 20x plus 36. The two factors that would add to give me 20 and at the same time multiply to give me 36 will be 2 and 18 because 2 times 18 will give me 36 and 2 plus 18 gives me 20. And then finally, in number 12, we have x squared plus 14x plus 40. So the factors of 40 that would multiply to give me 40 would be 4 and 10, and they also add to give me 14. So 4 plus 10 is 14, and 4 times 10 is 40. So if you find like this is giving you a little trouble, I think the most difficult thing about this is just choosing the right factors, right? Now, these were pretty easy because all of the signs in the quadratic, so B and C were both positive because it's positive and positive. But not all the time will you have positive numbers, right? Not all the time will you have a positive B and a positive C or and even a positive A. Sometimes the signs could be interchanged. So let's look at some examples when the signs are different, right? So before we looked at all the same signs, now we're going to look at different signs, right? Still when A is equal to 1. So we're still just looking at B and C. So say we had a question x squared minus 6x plus 8, right? So here, the same rules apply. You need to list the factors of 8 that would multiply to give you back 8 and at the same time add or subtract to give you negative 6. So the factors of 8 are 1 and 8 as well as 1 and 8, and then 2 and 4, right? So we know that it's going to be 2 and 4 because the only way you can get 6 is from 2 and 4, right? But the signs are going to be different because you need a positive 8 and a negative 6. The numbers have to multiply to give you a positive 8. Well, if you think about it, there are two instances when you could multiply two numbers and get a resultant positive product. It would be when both of them are positive or when both of them are negative, right? Because a negative by a negative and a positive by a positive will both give you positives, right? Same signs. So whenever you have a positive C value, but a negative B value, the two signs are always going to be negative, no matter what, because that's the only way you could end up with this negative 6. Because even if I were to say 2 plus 4, 2 times 4, sorry, I will get positive 8. But positive 2 times positive 4 is not negative 6. It has to be negative 2 and negative 4 because negative 2 take away 4 will give me negative 6 And -2 times -4 gives me +8. So you could probably write that down as a little hint, right? If you're looking at the signs, once you have, and I'll write it down after as well, once you have a positive C value and a negative B value, the two signs of the fact within the factors, within the brackets, it will always be negative because that's the only way you could get the negative B value, right? So if this is the little note here, if C is positive, and remember C is the constant, right? If C is positive and B is negative, then the two factors must be negative because that's the only way you could end up with B being negative, right? Then both factors are negative. Both factors are negative. So let's do some more. This is the part I think that most students make mistakes with, by the way, guys. The signs, identifying the factors is one thing, but then when you have different signs, students tend to make a lot of mistakes. Just remember that the only way you could multiply two numbers and get a positive answer would be if both of them are positive and both of them are negative. But then the only way you could add or subtract them to get a negative is if they're both negative. So that's why the two factors are negative, right? So let's look at another one. Let's say I had um, x squared minus 7x plus 12, right? Let's factorize this one. So a is positive, so I know I don't need to do anything there. The factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, or 3 and 4. I already know that C here is positive while B is negative. So I will need to have two negative signs. And it works because -3 times -4 gives me back +12. But -3 take away 4 is -7, right? So the answer here, exactly as you've done before, except with both signs now will actually be negative. So you're going to have -3 and -4. Another one, let's say I had x squared minus 9x plus 8. Once that C is positive, the two signs have to be negative. So this will end up being x minus 1 by x minus 8 because -1 take away 8 is -9 and -1 times -8 is +8. All right, guys, I'm going to do one more. Say we have x squared minus 17x plus 30. All right. So again, the C is positive and B is negative. So the two signs have to be negative. So this will end up being x minus 15 by x minus 2 because -15 times -2 is +30 and then -15 minus 2 is -17. So this is just something to really make a note of, girls. It's very important, right? So if C is positive and B is negative, then the both factors are negative. That's the only way you could end up getting a positive product and a negative sum or difference. Okay, so I'm gonna give you all some to try for me. Try for me. X squared minus 11x plus 28. X squared minus 13x plus 42. X squared minus 16x plus 15. X squared minus 6x plus 9, x squared minus 18x plus 32. And finally, x squared minus 16x plus 63. So you're trying these for me, girls. Send to me when you're finished.
Okay.
All right. So we have x squared minus 11x plus 28. So the first thing is we need to identify B and C. Now, B in this case is negative 11, that's B, and C is 28, positive 28, right? So the factors of, we're going to look at the factors of C. So the factors of C are 1 and 28, because 1 times 28 is 28, 2 and 14, right? What else? And then there's one more, 4 and 7, right? So all of these will multiply by each other. Each pair here will multiply by each other to give me back 28. But only one pair of these will I get negative 11 from. And the pair would have to be 4 and 7 because negative 4 take away 7 is negative 11, right? And at the same time, negative 4 times negative 7 is positive 28. So the factors here will be x minus 4 by x minus 7. Is that okay, Soraya?
Okay.
Yeah? What about number 6? What is B and C in number 6?
C would be 42 and B would
Yeah.
be 13.
Yeah, B is negative 13, right? So we got to list the factors of 42. They're extensive. They're 1 and 42. What else we have? 1 and 42, 2 and 21. Um, can 3 go? No. 3, yeah, 3 can go. 3 times 14 is 42. 4 can't go, 5 can't go, 6 could go. 6 by 7. Right. So the factors there that could give me to give me 13 will be 6 and 7, right? Because 6 plus 7 is 13. But we need negative 13. So those two factors would have to be negative. It'll have to be minus 6 minus 7 because minus 6 minus 7 is minus 13. And then minus 6 times minus 7 is positive 42. So in brackets, I'll have x minus 6 by x minus 7. Can you do number 7 for me, Soraya?
Let me just take a try.
Yeah, try it.
The factors of 15. 1,
Mm-hmm. 1 and 15, and what else?
3, and 5.
3 and 5. Which of these pairs can I get 16 from?
1 and 50.
Right, so what should go in my bracket?
Negative 1, negative 15.
Correct, because minus 1 minus 15 is minus 16, right? So once C is positive and B is negative, the two factors are both going to be negative because it's only those two factors that you can end up getting um, a positive answer when you multiply them and a negative answer when you subtract them, right? What about number 8? What are the factors of 9?
1, 9, and 3.
Yeah, so it's 1 times 9 and then 3 times 3. Factors always occur in twos, right? Because it'll be 1 times 9 and then 3 times 3. So it's a recurring one. So which of those will give you 6?
3 times 3 plus 3 is 6. So it'd be
Right.
negative 3
That's
plus
right.
negative 3.
That's right. It'll be negative 3 and negative 3 because that would give me negative 6. So in my brackets, I'll have minus 3, minus 3. So guys, the two factors can be the same, can be a repeated factor, like as in the case of this one, right? Because minus 3 is minus 6, and minus 3 times minus 3 is positive 9. All right, let's look at number 9. Safira, are you there? Thanks, Soraya. Safira, can you do number 9 and number 10 with me?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we have what is B and C in number 10? Number 9, sorry.
Sorry?
In number 9, what is B and what is C?
Um, 18 and 32.
C is 32 and B is negative 18. Yeah, so what are the factors?
Um, I had 2.
Mm-hmm. Well, list them in pairs, right? Because that makes it easier to see. So it will be 1 times 32. Those are two factors. And then 2 times what?
I got 6 as well. I didn't really
Yeah,
put them in pairs. I kind of like guessed it.
no, do it in pairs. It will be much better to do it in pairs because you see, these are actually the simpler ones, right? But in some of them, which we'll do later, you actually have A being equal to a number greater than 1. And when that is the case, we have to find AC instead. And it's a little bit more difficult sometimes to list your factors if you're just using guesswork. For a long time, I literally just used to guess what the factors were until I realized, oh, I could make my life easier by listing them in pairs. Because once I know one factor, then the other one would just be the number divided by that number. So for instance, the factors well, I know one is a factor of everything. So I ask myself, 1 times what will give me 32? Well, it'll be 1 times 32. 32 is an even number. So the factors of 32, sorry, so 2 will be a factor of 32 since it's even. So I'm listing 2 and I ask myself 2 times what is 32? Well, 32 divided by 2 is 16. So then it'll be 2 and 16, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then the next one will be, well, not 3. 3 can't go into 32, but 4 can. And to decide what the other factor would be, you'd say 32 divided by 4, which is 8. All right? So which of those two factors there can I get 18 from?
2 and 16.
Yeah, 2 and 16, right? Now it has to be negative. It has to be negative 2 and negative 16 because remember, I need to get negative 18, right? So
Mm-hmm.
negative 2 take away 16 is negative 18. And then negative 2 times negative 16 gives me positive 32. So in my brackets, I'll have x minus 2 by x minus 16. Is that okay?
Yeah, I got that. Yeah.
Right. And did you do number 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, what did you get?
I got x negative 7 and x negative 4.
You mean
Negative,
negative 9?
yeah, negative 9. I kind of write
Yeah.
those up.
Yeah, correct. That's correct. Great. Um, Zara, all the ones that you sent me were correct, honey. Very good.
Yay.
Good. So let's look. So far we have seen when when B and C are positive, right? So the factors are just going to be all positive, so that's fine. We looked at, and now we're looking at when we have different signs, right? In this first one, C is positive and B is negative. But you can also have where you can have the instance where both B and C are negative, right? So if both B, well, actually, before we reach to both B and C being negative, let's look at when B is positive and C is negative, right? So this is when B is positive and C is negative. So when B is positive and C is negative, well, remember, to get C, you multiply the two factors, right? So if C is negative, then the two factors have to have different signs because that's the only time you can multiply two numbers and get a negative product, right? So when B is positive and C is negative, then the two factors must have different signs, meaning one has to be positive and one has to be negative because, well, I'm just writing this, different signs, right? So recall that a positive by a negative gives you a negative. And then a negative by a positive also gives you a negative. So the only way to multiply two numbers and get a negative answer is if one of the numbers is positive and the other one is negative, right? So before we said that if C is positive and B is negative, then both signs have to be negative. But when B is positive and C is negative, the two factors, sorry, have different signs. So let's look at an example. Let's say I had x squared plus x minus 12, right? So this is the example, yeah. X squared plus x minus 12. Well, here b is actually 1, right? Because it's 1x. So b is 1 and c is negative 12. The factors of 12 would be 1 and 12, 2 and 6, or 3 and 4, right? So the only factors here that you could get 1 from would be 3 and 4, right? Because 4 take away 3 is positive 1. Now, this is very important, guys. This is the part that I think students really struggle with. You see, when you have these different signs here, students struggle with it. You need, in this case, B is positive 1 and C is negative 12, right? So the factor that would give you multiply to give you negative 12, and at the same time to add or subtract to give you positive 1, well, it wouldn't be 3 take away 4 because 3 take away 4 is negative 1, right? And we need positive 1. However, 4 take away 3 is positive 1 and 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. So the factors would have to be positive 4, negative 3. So in my brackets, I'll have x plus 4 by x minus 3. And I should put that in a different color. So x plus 4 and x minus 3, right? Because 4 take away 3 is plus 1, and 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. All right, guys? Let me see if I could do another one like that. Let's say we had, let's say I had x squared plus 12x minus 15, right? So again, positive B, negative C. So here, B is 12, positive 12, and C is negative 15. So listen my factors. I have 1 and 15. I have 3 and 5. Sorry, not 12, guys. It should have been 2. I made a mistake. B is 2, positive 2, right? So the factors here that could give me positive 2, well, it has to be 3 and 5, right? Because 1 and 15, you can't add or subtract that to get positive 2. However, with 3 and 5, if I say 5, well, like it wouldn't be 3 take away 5 because 3 take away 5 is negative 2, and I need positive 2. So it would have to be 5 take away 3, which is positive 2. So this is the one. When 5 is positive and 3 is negative. So my factors will be x plus 5 by x minus 3. Because 5 take away 3 is 2, and 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. All right, guys? So that is something to note as well. So give me one moment, please. But I had soup on the stove. Girls? Okay, good. So let's look at when you have both B and C being negative now. Right? So we're looking at both E and C are negative. All right. So when both B and C are negative, the two factors will have different signs as well. Right? Because again, the only way to get up a negative C, the two factors have to have different signs. Two factors must have different signs. So the two factors will have different signs when C is negative. Two factors have the same signs when C is positive, meaning two positives or two negatives. So let's see. Like, for example, if I had x squared minus x minus 6, right? Well, in this case, B is negative 1 and C is negative 6. So the factors of 6 would be 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. Now, to get negative 6, these will have to be different signs, right? So I could say 2 take away 3, which actually gives me negative 1. And at the same time, 2 times negative 3 gives me negative 6. So it satisfies the two conditions, which is that they have to multiply to give me back what C is, and at the same time, add or subtract to give me B. So it would be positive 2 and negative 3. So the factorization will be x plus 2 by x minus 3. Again, because 2 take away 3 is negative 1, and 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. So it works out, right? Another one where the two factors are the same would be x squared take away x minus 12. Well, the factors of minus 12 are, what are they? 1 times 12. Wait, did I just do this one? I feel like I just did that one. I think I did one similar. Oh, it was plus x. Anyway, right, so you have 1 and 12, and then you have 3 and 4. Oh, you also have 2 and 6. But the factors here that would give me, in this case, B is negative 1, right? B is negative 1 and C is negative 12. So the two factors have to multiply to give me negative 12 and at the same time add or subtract to give me negative 1. So if I use 3 and 4 and I say 3 take away 4, I will get negative 1. So here it's minus 4 and it's plus 3. So in my brackets, I'll have x plus 3 by x minus 4 because 3 times minus 4 is minus 1 and then 3 times minus 4 is minus 12, right? So when B and C, well, honestly, it really just depends on if C is negative. So for all of this, if you've noticed, once C is positive, then the two factors will be negative. So they have the same sign. If C is positive and B is negative, then the two factors will have the same negative signs. Oh, sorry, that's what we just did. And then if C, however, is negative, then the two factors will always have two different signs. right, guys? So when C is positive, either when they're all positive, right? When B and C are positive, all the two factors will have the same sign. Doesn't matter if it's two positives or two negatives. However, once C is negative, the two factors will have different signs. And it's all based on the fact that to get a negative product, you have to multiply two numbers with different signs. So I'm going to give you all some to do for me. All right. So pay attention to your signs, please. The signs must be where they add or subtract to give you B, and at the same time multiply to give you C. So I'm going to write down a few. I'm going to try these for me. And it's all mixed up, okay? So it's not going to be the same all. First one, x squared plus 9x plus 14. Second one, x squared plus 5x minus 14. X squared, number 3, x squared plus 9x plus 8, x squared plus 8x minus 9, x squared plus x minus 56, number 6, x squared minus 6x minus 27, number 7, x squared plus 14x plus 13, number 8, x squared plus 2x minus 80. All right, try these for me, please, guys. I'll be right back. Let's look at number 1. Number 1, it's gonna be, well, these are all positive, so the two factors will have positive answers, right? So it's positive sign, sorry. So it will be x plus something and x plus something. The factors of 14 are 1 and 14 and 7 and 2. So it will be 7 and 2 because 7 times 2 is 14 and 7 plus 2 is 9. Okay, the next one we have x squared plus 5x minus 14. So this would be now, for this one, C is negative, right? So I need to have one positive and one negative because that's the only way I will end up with negative 14, right? So thinking about the factors, I have, well, 1 and 14 and 7 and 2. So I need positive 5 and negative 14. So 7 times negative 2 will give me minus 14, and 7 take away 2 will give me positive 5. This one, all factors, it's all positive, so it's going to be plus and plus, right? And it'll be plus 1 plus 8, since 1 times 8 is 8, and 1 plus 8 is 9. All right, in this one, B is positive 8 and C is negative 9. So C is negative, so one of the factors will be plus and the other one will be minus. The factors of 9 are 1 and 9 or 3 and 3. So the only one there that could give us 8 will be 1 and 9. It's positive 8, so it has to be 9 take away 1, which gives me the positive 8. And 9 times minus 1 gives me minus 9. Again, in number 5, C is negative 56, while B is positive x. So the two factors are going to have different signs, x plus something and x minus something. So the factors of 56 that would work here will be 8 and 7. because 8 times -7 will give me -56, and 8 take away 7 will give me 1. In number 6, E and C are both negative. Once C is negative, the two factors will have different signs. So you're going to have plus and minus, and it will be 9 take away 3. Well, actually, no, it'll be 3 take away 9, not 9 take away 3, because you need to get -6. So it has to be 3 take away 9 to give you -6. Because if you had 9 take away 3, as I had originally said, that would actually give you +6. But B here is negative. So it's going to be 3 take away 9. And number 7, we have x squared plus 14, x plus 13. So this um, would be x plus 13 by x plus 1. 13 is a prime number, so there are only two factors. And of course, 13 plus 1 gives us b, which is 14, and 13 times 1 gives us c, which is 13. And the last one, c is negative. And once c is negative, I expect a positive and a negative factor. So 80, we need to get 2, so that will be 10 times 8, because 10 times -8 will give me -80, and 10 take away 8 will give me +2. If you find yourself having a little difficulty with it, girls, don't worry too much. Don't beat yourself up over it. It takes a little getting accustomed to, and it's a lot of tables, right? So you have to know your tables. Okay, let's see. Now, sometimes x squared can be negative, right? So I want to look at when x squared is negative, how we would look at that. So when x squared is -1. All right, so let's see. If x squared, when a is -1, sorry, that's what I meant to say. Let's say we had to factorize. So what number is this? This is number 9. So let's say I had to factorize 6 take away 5x take away x squared. Well, all that would happen here is the same steps, guys, except um you're gonna have the at the other end, so you'll have x here plus x and minus x over there. Instead, in all of them, I had x first, right? Because x was positive. But in this case, I'll have to put minus x and plus x, right? So I ask myself, what two numbers will multiply to give me 6? And they will be, and at the same time, add or subtract to give me -5. So it's going to be 6 and 1. Let's see. 6 and 1, right? Um, oh wait, actually, I'll have to change the signs. This would be it'll be 6 plus x and 1 minus x. Again, to check if your answer is correct, you multiply out these brackets to see if you get back um the 6 minus 5x minus x squared, right? So that would actually be 1 times 6, which is 6, 1 times x, which is x, and then minus x times 6 will be minus x, and then x minus x times x gives me negative x squared. So it works out. Just give me one moment, please. Right, girls. So for this one, when you have x squared being negative, the coefficients of x squared being negative, you have to look at the two factors. Now, what you're looking at, you're going to put x behind the plus and the minus because you need a minus x squared, right? But what you also need to look at is which combination of these two numbers here, 1 and 6, what would it, when you multiply it, which of those would give you back -5x? Now, please bear in mind, I want to show you something. To get minus 5x, it's going to be this number times this one, add or take away the second one minus x times 6. So you're going to have to look at this 1 times x and then see what would happen when you add it to minus x times this number here. So here you have, remember we need to get minus 5, right? So if we have to get minus 5, to get minus 5, this will be 1 times x, which is x, and then minus x times 6 is minus 6x, and that gives me minus 5x. So that's how come when I did it just now, that's how come I knew I had an error, right? Because I had 6 over here, but then that would have been 6 times x, which would be 6x, minus x times 1 would be minus x. So that would have given me positive 5x. Let me show you what I mean again in another example. So let's say I had 2 minus x squared, right? So I already know that in my brackets, I'm going to have plus x and minus x, right? Now I need to get I need to get minus 1x. So you're looking at the b term here, right? In addition to what two factors of what two factors of c will give you minus 1, right? Now remember that the two factors here would have to multiply to give you 2. But thankfully, in this case, 2 is a prime number. So the only two factors there will be 1 and 2. So you will have to decide where to put 1 and 2, either to put it here or here, right? Now, if I put it here, 1 over here, then it means that, let me use a different color. I need to get minus 1, right? Because that's what B is. So if I put 1 here, well, 1 times minus x will give me minus x. So that means 2 would have to go here. And x times 2 is 2x. So this will not work because minus x plus 2x is equal to, but I need negative x, right? So I'm going to switch them instead, and um, I'm going to put 2 here, right? And 1. So does it work? 1 minus x by 2 plus x. Let's see. 2 times minus x is minus 2x, and then x times 1 is x. And minus 2x plus x is equal to negative x. And of course, 2 times 1 is positive 2. So it works here, right? Let's look at another one. This one is a little tricky, so I'm going to do a couple with you. Let's say we had 4 take away 3x minus x squared. So once I see minus x squared, I know in the brackets it's going to have plus x and minus x, like that, right? Now I need to choose the two factors of 4 that would add or subtract to give me 3. Well, negative 3. Now, the two factors, 4 would be 1 times 4 or 2 times 2. 2 times 2 and 2 cannot give me 3. So it has to be 4 and 1. And I need to decide where do I put that 4 and where do I put the 1. So if I were to put 4 here and 1 over here, let's see what would happen, right? I know that it's going to give me positive 4. So that part is safe. However, I need to see if it will give me negative 3, right? So I'll say 4 times minus x, which is minus 4x. And then x times 1 is plus 1x. And negative 4 plus 1 is equal to negative 3. So that works, right? So this is what I'm trying to figure out here. See? Minus 5x. This one was minus x. So that is the part that tells us what, which bracket to put which factor, right? Because the first one here is going to be multiplied by minus x. And the second one is going to be multiplied by the first digit in the second bracket. Let's look at another one. Let's say I had, what number are we on? Number 12. let's say I had 8 plus 2x minus x squared. All right. So as customary, I know that it's going to be plus x by something minus x. All right. My factors, C here is 8. So my factors of 8 are 1 and 8 or 2 and 4. And I need to get positive 2. Right? So the only factors here that I could use is 2 and 4. Right? Now, I need to see if I put 2 here and 4 here, what would happen? Well, 2 times negative x is minus 2x, right? And then x times 4 is plus 4x. So minus 2 plus 4 is in fact equal to 2x. So this works, right? I already know that it's going to be correct with the 2 and 4 because 2 times 4 is, right? So that's fine. But I need to figure out which brackets to put it in. Looking at another one. Let's say I had um 6 minus x squared, right? So I need to get minus 1, right? Because b here is minus 1. So my factors of 6 are 1 and 6 or 2 and 3. So they have to multiply to give me back 6 and at the same time add or subtract to give me negative 1. So it has to be 2 and 3. Okay, so let's see. It would be my brackets. I know that one of them has to be plus and then the other one has to be minus. So to get negative 1, it would have to be 2 minus 3, right? Because 2 minus 3 is negative 1. 3 minus 2 is not negative 1. So what would I do here? I would have to put, I need to make sure that the 3 is negative. So this will be 3. 3 will have to go here because 3 times negative x is negative 3x. And then the 2 would have to go here because 2 times x is 2x. And together, negative 3x plus 2x is negative x. So this one is a little tricky, but it's the same principle no matter what. That's how come we did expanding brackets because you need to understand that when you expand the brackets, you're gonna end up with you have to get back the original quadratic, right? Something that we looked at last week is a difference of squares. So just to refresh your memory a little bit on a difference of squares, um, difference of two squares, there's a specific factorization of it, the difference of two squares, right? So it's when, for example, if you have the standard, let's say you have x squared minus a squared, they are two squared numbers, right? X squared is a square number because x squared x times x is x squared. A squared is also a square number because a times a is a squared. And of course, minus means difference. So I don't know if you'll recall, but to factorize the difference of squares will be x plus a by x minus a. If you look back in your lessons book, you'll see it, right? Um, so whenever you spot a difference of squares, to factorize it, you simply take the square roots of each and put them in the brackets, interchanging the signs. So for example, if I had, let's say I had x squared take away 9, so I recognize that these are two square numbers, right? It's x squared and 9. So the square roots will be x and 3. So in the brackets, I'll have x plus 3 by x minus 3. All right. So I think the most difficult part about factorizing a difference of squares is simply recognizing that it is a difference of squares, right? So recognizing that it's two square numbers that you're looking at. So here, x squared minus 100, the square roots will be x and 10. So it will be x plus 10 by x minus 10. All right. Let's say I had x squared minus 16. This would be x plus 4 by x minus 4, right? Soraya, are you there, honey? Are you still there?
Yes, miss.
What about if I wanted to factorize x squared minus 4? What would be the two factors here?
2
Yeah, so it would be x what? Well, go in the brackets.
x plus 2
Hmm?
minus 2.
X plus 2 and then x minus 2. All right. Safira, what about if I had x squared minus 25? Well, go in the brackets.
Um, maybe x plus 5
X plus 5 and
and x plus 5.
x minus 5. Good. And Zara, what about if I had, I'm writing it a different way now. What about if I had 36 minus x squared?
X plus x, open
Mhm.
brackets, 6 minus x, close
Perfect.
brackets.
Excellent. Right? You can also have like a coefficient in there too, right? So you could have girls, you could have like 4x squared take away um take away 49, for instance. Still a difference of squares because 4x squared is actually 2x times 2x. So that would, in brackets, you'll have 2x plus 7 by 2x minus 7. So it could have a coefficient. It doesn't have to be like the coefficient doesn't have to be 1, right? So um, you could have had 81 take away 4y squared. And it doesn't have to be x either. It could be any square term. So 81 is a square number, 4 is a square number, and y squared is a square number. So the factorization here will be 9 plus 2y by 9 minus 2y. There you go. So we're going to stop there for today. Next week, we're going to continue with factorizing quadratics when the coefficient of a is greater than 1, and also when there is no bx term, when b is equal to 0.